All right, guys, let's jump right into it here. So today, we're going to be talking about the most recent murder to occur within the CDCR. Happened a couple days ago on the 23rd. It happened at California State Prison, Sacramento, often referred to as New Folsom. Now, what's interesting about this, the victim in this case, you see why he got killed. It's pretty obvious. Look at some of the charges that we're going to be reading about here in a second. The other part, though, is his cellmate, the guy who killed him, was a gang member, went in for attempted murder. But everything I'm reading is that both of these guys were PC. Now, it makes sense because they were cellmates, right? So it's kind of like, well, duh, okay? But there's nothing that initially gives off for the murder in this case.
A prisoner in Folsom is now under investigation for the death of his cellmate. Staff at the California State Prison, Sacramento, say they discovered John Cisneros unresponsive in his cell Monday night. The 49-year-old was serving time for robbery and attempted rape. His cellmate, Irvin Sanchez, was detained and removed during the homicide investigation. The 34-year-old was already serving time for attempted murder for a gang shooting.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Hope y'all having a blessed day. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Really quick, though, before we jump into this video, if you could please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Also, don't forget to hype this video up. It all really does go towards the continued growth of this channel. I genuinely appreciate all the support. Lastly, I'm going to shout out each and every one of our members. Let's start with Tasha75, DeBonesy, Swag McSwaggerson, A.Bird.14, Michelle Mofford, Real Saints Ministry Inc., Richard Castillo, Fly Eagles Fly 1994, T. Wood, 258, Vince Moreno, B. Stepanov, and our newest member, but I've seen her a lot in the comments. Welcome, Miss Jen K. Let's roll. All right, guys, let's jump right into it. So today, we're going to be talking about the most recent murder that occurred within the CDCR. Happened 3 days ago on February 23rd, 2026. We're going to start with the CDCR's news release, which was yesterday on February 25th. The one thing that sticks out about this case immediately to me, when you go through and kind of read the fine print, the victim in this case, Cisneros, all right, John Cisneros. You see the first line, what he gets sentenced for, but then you see the very violent, horrible SA charges, and you realize that's probably what got him killed. Now, the other part of this is, I've seen on different posts, different videos, comments, this happened in a PC unit, PC yard, which I guess would make sense because these two individuals were cellmates. The alleged attacker in this case, on paper, just looks like a gang member from Los Angeles. He's a Southsider. Don't know any more specifics past that, but regardless, it would make sense if this was in a PC unit. So I've said in the past that if I can get an idea if this was an SNY, PC yard, or GP, I would let you guys know. To me, this looks like an SNY GP sort of a situation. First, let's start with the press release, then have some decent background information on our alleged attacker. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation officials are investigating the February 23rd, 2026 death of an incarcerated person at the California State Prison, Sacramento as a homicide. At approximately 9:15 p.m., staff observed incarcerated person John Cisneros unresponsive in his cell. Staff immediately responded, initiating life-saving measures and activating 911. Outside medical ambulance staff pronounced Cisneros deceased at 9:59. Cisneros' cellmate, Irvin Sanchez, was detained and removed from the cell. He has been placed in restricted housing pending an investigation by the SAC Investigative Services Unit and the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office. Cisneros, 49, most recently received from Los Angeles County on July 6, 2015, sentenced to 5 years for second-degree robbery. And you go, oh, okay, robbery charges, whatever. However, while incarcerated, he gets another 28 years in October of 2017 for some pretty nasty, disgusting SA charges all the way across the board, right? With violence, fear of immediate bodily injury, all with just every sort of aggravating factor you could think of. The guy's a piece of shit, and you see why he ended up being killed. Irvin Sanchez, 34, received from Los Angeles County on February 27th, 2013, sentenced to 18 years for attempted second-degree murder with enhancements of a street gang act and use of a firearm, and 1 year, 4 months for concealing a firearm in a vehicle, to be served concurrently. And I'm telling you guys, I was about to give up on trying to find any background information on any of them. I try my best to give you guys as many details as I can. Sometimes it's hard with these breaking news stories. But it wasn't a lot. However, I did come across an appeal in the state of California for Irvin Sanchez, and it was filed, he went away in February, early in 2013. So this was an appeal that he filed in October of 2013. So he'd only been down for about 7-8 months by the time this piece of information came out. It's kind of a little tough to read. It's an appeal from a judgment of the Superior Court. And basically the appeal, the judgment was affirmed. But an amended information filed on August 9th, 2012, and further amended by yada yada on January 14th, 2013, charged Irvin Sanchez with 2 counts of willful, deliberate, and premeditated attempted murder. 1 count of shooting at an occupied motor vehicle, and contained criminal street gang allegations and firearm use of allegations. He pled not guilty to the charges and denied the special allegations. And what do we always talk about? Those special allegations, guys. We always talk about the street gang enhancements, the firearm enhancements. They will nail your ass to the wall with those enhancements, right? Especially if you have priors. If you are known, if you are in the system, you can bet you're going to pick up an extra 5, 10, 15 years, maybe more, with these enhancements, okay? Reading through it here. Sanchez filed a notice of appeal indicating that his appeal is based on the non-certificate issue of the denial of his motion to suppress. So he's trying to suppress evidence. Okay, and it says, we have reviewed the entire record on appeal. We note that the trial court denied Sanchez motion to suppress evidence and the gun that they found, that the gun was found in a car in which Sanchez was driving, and Sanchez's statements regarding the gun, stating that in this case, you have a situation where a deputy sheriff makes an observation while he's on patrol. He was able to articulate specifically what caused his action there. And what they mean by that is the deputy basically articulated why I searched the car, which a lot of times, don't get me wrong, these search and seizures can be absolute bullshit. These probable cause things can be absolute bullshit. If you have an interesting story, I would love to hear it. Comment down below. If you've been stopped, if you've been pulled over, if you've been searched, if you've been arrested in one of these situations where you're pulled over in a vehicle, please comment down below. I'd love to hear them. This officer said he smelled the odor of marijuana. It's kind of like the eye roll moment, right? Of course they smelled the marijuana, right? He says, yep, I smell marijuana. He stopped his patrol car behind the Sanchez car. He walks up. His gun is not drawn. Lights, according to him, are on. And so he begins his investigation, makes an inquiry. At that point in time, it's still considered a consensual stop. Then Irvin Sanchez happens to mention that he and the passenger in the car had been smoking. So the sheriff says, okay, well, at that point, he self-admits that they've consumed marijuana. And at that point in time, this stop rises to more than just a consensual stop. At that point, it authorizes the deputy to take further action. Then it gives him reasonable grounds to detain Sanchez and the others. And again, it's for his safety. He puts him in the back of his patrol car. He does that, calls for backup. Backup arrives, and the backup then, after being explained the reasons for the detention, has the right to go ahead and search for the contraband. And in the process of the search, we found out from the deputy that it was common for contraband to be hidden in various compartments in the car, center console included. Having that in the back of his mind and seeing the console was offset or loose. So basically it wasn't shut all the way. It was loose. The top was flopping around. That would also further his suspicions that there might be something in there. He slides it back, and what does he see? The butt of a gun. And I don't think there's any problem in justifying that the limited search. Given these findings, the court did not err in denying the motion to suppress. So basically what they're saying is Irvin Sanchez said, hey, that's unlawful search and seizure. You should not be able to include the gun in the gun evidence in this case, which without the gun evidence, you probably can't prove the shooting, which then would prove attempted murder. Be a big hit. But the Superior Court goes, yeah, no, not quite, man. You've already been convicted. And I think that's important to talk about. And you guys may know if you've been through the legal system, but these appeals are denied 9 out of 10 times, right? Out of 100, 99 of them, 98 of them, denied. Maybe one might get pushed through, right? And then out of all those, that maybe they go, you know what? Maybe we should reconsider this to get to the point of a new trial or something to get thrown out. I don't think people understand how difficult that is or how the justice system really works. It is incredibly difficult to try to prove something like that. Anyway, a little bit of a shorter video tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.